if they go back. I'm sorry that the parents are in poor living conditions or surroundings or whatever's going on out there. I don't care. I care about what's going on right here in my own backyard, my neighborhood. Am I the only one in this community that's out here that watches the news this morning? Oh, my God. I feel alone right now in this, and I'm very saddened by it.
All right, this is ground zero in this immigration battle that's currently engulfing the country. That, of course, coming from Marietta with an U, not like Marietta, Georgia, Marietta, California. And the mayor pro tem, and he would stand in for Mayor Alan Long should the need ever arise. Mayor pro tem Harry Ramos is with us. Also joining us is Congressman Ken Calvert of California's 42nd District, which, by the way, encompasses Marietta. And he's here to give us a firsthand account of the issues that are facing the community, the onslaught of illegal immigrants into the area. Let me ask you both first. Let me ask you, Mr. Ramos, first. Is it true you were not, as a community, given a heads up by the federal government that people were being bussed into your community?
How are you doing, sir? It's a pleasure being on air with you. That is accurate.
So, in other words, all of a sudden, buses started showing up with these kids from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and the government gave you no input whatsoever, no heads up whatsoever. We're sending these kids to your town.
No, actually, we heard off of rumor mill about a month and a half before.
Congressman, how's that possible?
Well, I found out myself the Friday before the Tuesday in which they were supposed to arrive that the Border Patrol was, in fact, going to be sending flights down from Texas into San Diego and then over to the Marietta station for processing. And so at that point, I called the mayor and the city manager in Marietta and Temecula to let them know, and that's when that information started getting out.
All right, we've all seen the videotape of the citizens of Marietta, and I know that they've been called awful names by people. Can you explain exactly what it is that they are afraid of? Now, I know that we've heard stories these kids have health issues, health concerns. I don't know if you have the capacity to take on as many kids as they want to send to your town. What is the major concern, Mr. Mayor?
I think initially the major concern was the health risks to the community, as well as what do we do with the illegal immigrants once they are released around the neighboring communities.
In other words, you don't know anything about them. Do they have criminal records? We've heard reports that some of these, quote, kids were members of MS-13, for example. So those were obviously some of the concerns of the people in the community, right?
Absolutely. You know, we were told that there were definitely going to be medical screening. I'm not necessarily believing that. The background checks, unless they committed a felony within the United States, it would come up negative. So we had major concerns. And as we see the buses, 2 of the 3 buses, there were individuals that were very sick. The first 3 buses that were stopped, they had to go to the hospital because 3 of the kids were very ill. And then the second bus on 4th of July at 2 a.m. had 40 individuals that were quarantined.
Quarantined for?
I believe the report said scabies.
And what about, has there been issues with lice? What other health issues do you know came up?
We heard that the first bus, they all had lice, and I'm imagining the second one as well.
Congressman, have you heard the same thing?
Yes. And by the way, the medical screening that's done at the border is quite minimal. They just observe and try to check for, this, if there's anything serious. But anything of any significance is not done at the border.
All right. Was the federal government, if they're not even telling you they're sending people over there, were they planning to provide financially for these kids? Were they willing to provide the shelter and the food and the beds and the blankets and the health care? They weren't willing to. So in other words, they just bust them into your town with no resources whatsoever, and they said, "Here, you take them." Is that pretty much what happened?
What they were going to do, because of citizen action and media attention, they have stopped these flights into San Diego for now. So we obviously have the president's attention at this point, but that's for now, and we need to keep pressing when we move forward. If we move on this supplemental, to carve that down to what's necessary, and to put language. I dropped a bill today to say to amend this 2008 law where people that not just people from Mexico and Canada, but others can be turned around and sent back to their home countries.
Let me ask this. Now, we saw the confrontation, and then we've heard all the political commentary. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, let me ask you, you've heard the allegations of racism against the people of Marietta, California. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm personally offended at these accusations. It's a shame that these people are being cattled around, not as human beings. That could potentially be seen as racist. They're being put in the most horrid type of living conditions. This facility in Marietta was a jail that was used for illegal immigrants that were caught smuggling drugs into the country. There was no beds, no showers, no eating facilities, a toilet that's not private. And I think that could be looked at as pretty racist. And if anybody would, in my city, treat these individuals the way the federal government is treating them, more specific, President Obama's policies, and they would just be dumped on the side of the road like a dog, they would be fined and likely thrown in jail. So, and myself, I'm very Latino. I have a last name as Ramos. I had to go door to door, and the same community voted me in pretty significantly. So absolutely, this community is not racist. We're a loving community. We tried to prepare to help these people, and it's been turned around, and just the story has been flipped on us.
Can you